Welcome back to the Xposure International Photography Festival 2024. We're here at the Nikon stand again for the Frame by Frame podcast. Apologies for yesterday, I called it Face to Face, which is also a great name because here I am face to face with one of Nikon's most popular photographers, Baba. So welcome Baba to the podcast.
Hi, thank you all. Thank you, Andrew.
No, my
Thanks
pleasure.
for welcoming me, and thanks to Nikon Middle East for giving me the opportunity to come at your show and speak.
I don't think there's too many photographers that don't already know who Baba is. He's had a really long relationship with Nikon for a really long time. For those that don't know, perhaps you can run us through your photography journey, how you got into photography in the first place, and touch on your relationship with Nikon, which is a really long-standing relationship.
Okay, well, that's a long story, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. In 2011, I had a surgery, my throat surgery. And due to a medical accident, I lost one of my vocal cord, which kind of put me into a depression type of thing. And during that phase, I found photography. One of the corporate event was happening in my company where I was working at that time, and I saw one of my friend. He was taking photo in the daylight with a flash, and I was just looking at him, and I asked him why people using flash in the daylight. But he took my photo, and the next day when he shared with me, I found it very interesting. Very, very interesting. So I asked him, can you teach me photography? And he said, I'm not going to teach you. Go to this YouTube channel and learn from that. And I was like, fine. So I went to YouTube, started learning, and that's the point I got the drift, and here I am.
I always love hearing the stories of how people first get into photography and get inspired by photography. So from there, you've grown very much as a photographer. How would you describe your photography style in 2024?
Okay, first initially I was trying to do anything and everything, but I reached to a point where I was not able to progress much. Like my work was not improving, and I was constantly at one level. And in 2019, like I'm talking about 2012 onwards till 2019,
Yep.
that's the point I able to learn technically, but my work was like stagnant, was not improving. So I came across a book, uh, and I was just wandering in Dubai Mall, in the bookstore, and where I came across that book. And the title of the book was "Read This If You Want to Learn Capture Great Photos." So the writer has three editions. Like, read this if you want to take good photos of places, good photos of people, or good photos. So I bought one book, and and I'm not a guy who love to read books, but for some odd reasons, that book caught my attention so much that I finished that book in 2 days.
Really?
Yeah, in 2 days I finished. And then I bought the second book, I bought the third book. And those three books helped me so much in improving myself that I involve where I am. I am into nature, people, or anything which connects with people and their emotions. It doesn't matter. It could be landscape, it could be a, like a bottle of water,
Yeah.
or it could be anything. So anything which connects human with lights and shadows to it makes you feel thinking about it, like why it's happening, what's going on, something like that.
Because I've always thought you're a photographer. When I look at your photos, they always tell stories. You are definitely a visual storyteller. Is that something when you're taking photos that's premeditated, that you're planning out, or is it something that evolves during a shoot or during a photographic process?
That's a good question. Okay, it depends on the scenario.
Yeah.
Like for example, if most of my shots are candid, like I am standing somewhere and I see something that's going to happen, my pre-visualization is I developed after reading those three books. So I developed it and I anticipate that that moment is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I immediately put my camera towards that direction. And based on working on Nikon cameras for so long, my muscle memory is too good. So I know what kind of settings do I have to put, and I just put the direction, click.
Yeah.
Because for me, that moment is more important rather than focusing on shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and gain.
Yeah.
That's about the candid part. About the people, that's something I developed over the years. Like for example, if I look any face, let's say I am seeing your face, and I know that I can take a very good photo of you in black and white, not in color.
Yeah.
Why? Because after looking at you, at the back of my head, the calculation between lights and shadows is keep processing your face, and suddenly I come up with something out of blue, which makes me think that okay, Andrew is gonna look good in black and white. Why? Because he got a very nice job, I know, very like very structural face, which dominates, which can, and when I'm going to put some hard light and hard shadows somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna put your face in between those light and shadows, I know I can make you look very different in black and white rather than color.
That's really you said something really interesting as well. That you said about you can rely a lot on muscle memory, and that's something that's come up in 2 or 3 of these podcasts, where photographers become so confident in their technique and confident in their gear that they can focus more on creativity and worry less about the technical side of things. And I think that's a really great level for amateur photographers to get to, where you can really understand, the techniques and the skills of photography, and you don't have to stress so much about, shutter speed and aperture and ISO and what you're doing, and you can really become more creative because you've got that muscle memory you can take the photos
Exactly.
technically, and you don't have to, have this in the back of your mind stressing. But I want to circle back to, you brought up black and white photography, which is, I guess in 2023, 2024, where social media is so dominant, everyone wants these hyper saturated photos for social media. Black and white as an art form, I find, is more difficult than shooting in color, which sounds silly because you're removing all the color. I really want to know, and you answered the question briefly, but I really want to know, when you're taking photos deliberately for black and white.
Yeah, purposely I do.
Purposes, yeah.
I do that.
Which is,
But sorry. See, the thing is, I see. I don't know. It's just come from inside. I'm just sitting in my front of my, on my computer, and I'm looking at the screen. Somehow I know that this face is going to look good in black and white. Why? Because I think it's look good, or maybe I could be wrong, but no, that's not the thing. The thing is, I go with my emotions.
yeah,
Within first 2 seconds, if my mind tells me, okay, this face looks good, going to be good, look good, try black and white.
Yeah.
Because of the face structure, because the emotions that person's carried. One of my picture is in display right now in the booth, and the picture of that model, she's a dancer, and I was shooting with her in the desert, and that picture was in color, but the moment I try to edit, I immediately realized it's going to be look good in black and white. There is no way
Yeah.
I'm going to put in color.
Yeah.
Why? Because when I pre-visualize that I'm going to put shadow over here, light over here, it will put people mind going to be push and pull.
yeah.
So it's my job to make people mind push and pull
Yeah.
between reading the image.
And I think if you've got a really great understanding between contrast and highlights and shadows,
Yep.
you find it a lot easier to shoot in black and white. Several really great portrait photographers have told me, if you want to practice highlights and shadows, if you want to practice your understanding of contrast, start shooting portraits in black and white. You'll
That's
start to
very
see
true.
things that you can't see in color. Turn your mind to start thinking black and white. Start thinking black and white.
I just like to add one more thing here. Black and white photography comes not from inside of you. Depends on your personality. I know people, they tried black and white, it didn't work for them. Despite they learned techniques, despite they bought the filters. Why? Because their personality, their mindset, it's not processing the world.
Yeah.
Black and white photographers, for them, they comes from inside their emotions. For them, the life is either white or black. There is no 50 shades of grey in between. So if you are like very much emotionally in control, like okay, I'm just giving you an example. I don't smoke. If somebody going to tell me, let's go and smoke, I say, no, I'm not going to smoke. Or I'm not going to drink. Because for me, my mind is always say no. I'm not going to go just to get a company or just to
Yep.
please anyone else. So there is no 50 shades of grey for me. I just go right or wrong.
Yeah,
So
black and
that
white.
helps me to build up that black and white profile.
Yeah, no, it's super. I'm a big believer of, you know, no matter what style you're doing and where you're at in your photography journey, keep trying different things, shoot different styles and do different things. So whether you're shooting landscapes or whether you're shooting sports or whether you're shooting wildlife, I think go and practice some black and white portrait photography. You will learn so much from doing that in terms of, you know, your control of highlights, your control of shadows, your understanding of contrast. By going and doing that, and you can bring that into any sort of photography that
It's a
you
whole
that you
new
want to
world.
do.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah. You're also really well known for your control of light and your use of light. And if people look at your Instagram accounts, you're using all different sorts of light. You're using artificial light, and you're doing things like motion blur and multiple exposures and all these sorts of things.
Yes, I do.
You have no bounds to your creative license. And I want to know, is that something that you're always planning out, or is it something that that is a little bit trial and error? Because a lot of these things like motion blurs, it's not an exact science. There's too many variables. So are you going in there with a knowledge of what you want to do, or is there a little bit of trial and error in those shoots?
Good question. When I started photography, the first inspiration that I got was Joe McNally,
Yep.
Nikon ambassador, the Nikon US ambassador. So I was watching his videos. That guy is like, he's a master of flash photography.
Yeah.
And I've seen him like controlling 50 flash, 30 flash in one scene, and it makes me bonker. Like, how the hell did he can control it? So I got sorry. I got so much addiction of learning flash photography that I attended all of his workshops,
Yep.
online, offline. When I came to Dubai, I bought his workshops, and I immediately asked him, like, there is a very famous flash photography term called stroboscopic, and it's the most difficult thing to go with flash. Most difficult. People will go bonker. What's the hertz? What's the flash power? And how many times do I have to fly the flash? And I didn't get it. And I paid for his workshop. I still not able to understand. But somehow his wife Andy, she helped me in learning, and from that point I'm learning, and I keep trying. But I practice so much that now, if you ask me how to do it, I can tell you in one line,
Yeah.
and it will help. But the thing is, I plan the shot. I always plan the shot. I have to do this. I have to put light over here, light over there. I have to put background this, and with that background, I have to keep my shutter speed approximately this, and I have to put this much amount of hertz, and light should be coming like this. So like 80%, I do my homework.
Yeah.
20%, I go and apply, just tweaking few things, try to get the shot.
Yeah, I mean, the flash is such a funny thing. A lot of people are, they prefer to shoot in natural light, and they're a little bit scared of using flash. But I think using flash gives you such a good understanding of natural light, because you can control the flash. You can't really control the sun most of the time, so you can really, control what you're doing. Even here at the Nikon stand, we've got a portrait set up over there, and I really encourage people to go and understand how the flash is set up, why the lights are in a certain position, how you can adjust the intensity, how you can change the quality of the softness or the harshness of the light to really get an understanding of what you're doing, rather than just turning up and taking a photo. I am getting the clock from the guys, but I'm going to risk getting in trouble a little bit, because I wanted to ask one more question of you.
Sure.
Because you're someone who, when I look at your social media pages, I get inspiration from. But I want to know, where do you go for inspiration for photography? Are you someone that looks at other people's works, or looks at movies, or looks at certain sources for inspiration, or do you completely come up with it in your own mind?
No, I do look work. I do look at other people's work, and I try to find inspiration. But the problem with me is that I don't get inspiration all the time from any source. The thing is, I keep scrolling the websites, the photo albums of Instagram profiles, like Flickr, 500px, and all that websites. And I just keep scrolling, and then anything can hit me.
Yeah.
And if anything within 2 seconds hit me, that's my inspiration.
Yeah.
So for me, it has to come from inside.
Yeah.
I cannot force myself to like anybody work.
Yeah.
It just has to come from inside.
100%.
So that's it.
I genuinely wish we could chat along I could chat to you for hours asking questions.
would love
but
to
we
answer.
do have some time restraints. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I
you
really
very
enjoyed
much.
our
It's a pleasure.
our
It's a
chat.
pleasure talking
No,
to you.
honestly, it was my pleasure. Everyone, we've got a couple more podcasts today. So it's the last day of Xposure. So pop down and say hello. Pop into the Nikon stand here. Take some photos. Come and watch the podcast live if you've got time, and it'd be great to say hello. So thanks for another podcast of Frame by Frame, and we'll see you again shortly. Thanks so much. Thanks,
Thank you,
Baba.
Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikon.